Hi, I'm Brainard Carey. I'm an educator, an author, and an artist. I've written 3 books for artists. One was called Making It in the Art World, the other was called New Markets for Artists, and the last is called The Art World Demystified. I've also shown work at the Whitney Biennial, having a show now in New York, different places, and also I host the Yale University radio series called Lives of the Artist. I've interviewed over 700 artists, architects, curators, writers, about their world and how they navigate it. And today I'm going to tell you a little bit about social media training for artists, a basic strategy for social media for artists, how to use blogs and email lists as well as various social media out there. So to begin with, here are the steps. Number 1, start a blog. Whether you have one or not, what I would suggest is using a blog attached to your website. So if you have a WordPress website, you could easily attach a blog. If you have a Squarespace website or many other template-based websites, which is primarily what websites are now, you should be able to attach a blog or at least link a page to it. I think it's good to have a blog on your website. What do you do on that blog and how do you use that blog? Essentially, this is how it works. You write something once a week in your blog on Fridays. And it could be, and ideally is, anecdotal, not necessarily about your art, but more about what you're doing. Went to a movie, I don't know, got a new dog, and you traveled, anything, but write a little bit about what you're doing and with an image, right? So you put an image in your blog and maybe just a few paragraphs. If you're not really a writer, just a few paragraphs and an image from where you were. Again, could be a book review, a movie you saw, how you feel about current events, whatever it is, but write something that's small and points towards your art. You know, you could be talking about what you're doing in the studio, what you're exploring lately, but it shouldn't always be about your art. It should be about things that you think about, that you're interested in. So you do this blog post, let's say once a week of 500 words or less. And then that blog post has a link that goes directly to it. So you go to Facebook, if you're on Facebook, and say something. Say, this week I've been thinking about, dogs and cats, and I saw this movie. Take a look at what I've written here. And then you put a link to your blog post. That same thing could be done on Twitter and other social media platforms. That could also be done on Instagram. With Instagram, it would be slightly different. You'd upload the photo, and then you would either put a link in the comments or have your profile link on Instagram go directly to your blog. So this is how you share the blog. This is step 1, in other words, is starting a blog, opening one up, writing in it once a week. Step 2 is sharing it to social media. And step 3 is how you share it to your mailing list. The way you have a mailing list is you take all your contacts, and rather than just sending them all out in one email with a BCC or CC, what you should have, if you have a mailing list greater than 10, is an e-marketing program. MailChimp is one of them, so is Aweber. Aweber is what I use. There's iContact. I've used a lot of different ones. I think Aweber is a great one. MailChimp is free for the first 500. Aweber costs $20, something like that, a month. So what you do with this service is very important. You put your emails in there, your email contacts, and it's important for them to all be in this, because when you send out an email through an e-marketing service, which you're in control of, everything, people have the chance to subscribe or unsubscribe. They can subscribe to it through your website even, which I'll talk about in another installment of this series. But essentially, this is the last step. You send out a letter once a month to your contacts, and you tell them that you've been writing about so-and-so. It's friendly, it's plain text. There's no images in this letter you're sending out through your newsletter service, your e-marketing service, which is, again, MailChimp or Aweber or similar. And you just act a little chatty, write a little few words that are chatty about what it is that you're doing, and then have a link to your blog. That's the last step. And the reason you're being chatty and sending a link to your blog is you're giving them content. You're not just saying, this is my new work, or waiting for something to happen like a show or something big. You can write about your work and of course link to it and send that to them. But the idea is that everybody that subscribes to you by email, everybody that's interested in you in social media, and even the people who don't know you on social media, now become interested because you're writing about interesting things that they like. They like your voice. And it drives traffic to your website because your blog is on your website, so people have a reason to look at your art every single week. That's the strategy. To summarize, number one, open a blog on your website. It should be one page on your website. Number two, post that link to your blog post at least once a week on your various social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, similar. Then number three, use an e-marketing service to send out emails to your list once a month. And you should be slowly, collecting more and more names, which I'll talk about in another episode. But send out a letter once a month, be chatty, and give a link to your blog. This is the whole story with social media strategy initially in terms of getting the word out there. I'll talk about more steps and more advanced steps in the following episodes. I wish you the best with your art and your studio practice.